I'm at work, obviously. Yeah.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Taylor Andre. Waking up with Taylor Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time you link up, but about waking up your third eye, where unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. I'm super excited today because my boo is in the building. And so we are talking about love your menses. I just recently said it in the last show that what women go through would kill men. Like what we deal with every month. Listen, it would be the whole universe would have a week off and had their period. So Priya, please introduce yourself. Please introduce Dr. Azuma. And what is Love Your Menses?
Yes, thank you so much, Taylor. It's so good to see you. It's been so long. So my name is Bria Gadsden, born and raised in Mattapan. Grew up in Boston. Then I ventured off to UMass Amherst to get my bachelor's in nutrition. Thought I wanted to be a dietitian, but then public health was my calling. So came back home, worked a little bit in public health, got my master's, and since then been doing community-based work. And during one of our first Love Your Menses events in May 2019, when Irvine Goetson, who's no longer here with us, my mentor, she helped us plan the event. That's where I met Dr. Azuma, who is a board-certified OBGYN. She was getting her master's at the time at Harvard, and she volunteered at the event. And afterwards, she's like, Bria, we have to bring this to DC. And so 2 months later, we did an event in DC in July of 2019. And then she was like, Bria, we need to make this a nonprofit. So we turned it into a nonprofit. And so Love Your Menses, we focus on providing menstrual education, resources, and mentorship for Black and brown girls, young women, and people who menstruate. And we really focus on menstrual wellness because we believe it's more than just what's happening physically. You know, it's a mind, body, spirit experience. And I think that's what sometimes people forget. It's more than just, oh, you're bleeding every month. There's more to the menstrual cycle than your actual period. And so we make sure that people are equipped with the knowledge and the resources they need to have a healthy cycle from day 1 to day 28, day 30, depending on how long your menstrual cycle is.
Okay, so let's start there. What is all-encompassing? Because, you know, you get your period, you're bleeding, and she's moody. Like, that's all I need to know.
Avira, do you want to speak?
Yeah, like Bria said, Bria, excellent introduction. I can't even go, like, I can't outdo you. Excellent introduction. Like she said, we focus on menstrual wellness. We don't just focus on the menstrual part, the period part. We just focus on like the holistic care of an individual because we feel like menstruation makes us unique, makes us special. And we like to honor that with evidence-based information. Like you said, you're talking about the menstrual period, like cycle in terms of the period. Everyone, like Bria would say, reacts differently during their period. Some people have significant pain. Some people do have changes in their mood. And some people don't have anything. It's just a normal physiology that occurs. So it depends on the person. But regardless of who the person is, what kind of phase you have during that period, we honor you, we respect you, and we want you to know what is physiologic, what is pathologic. And like Bria said, we just love the fact that we empower young girls. We want to see more Bria Gadsden in our community, in the Black and brown community. So there's so many facets that we've made happen, meaning like we teach physiology. We have our 9-year-olds talking about estrogen, talking about progesterone, talking about follicular stimulating hormone. Like these girls are brilliant. Like we respect the neuroplasticity of their brain, and we feel great because we know that we're going to produce more scientists, more Bria Gadsden in the future. So we're just excited for the mentorship part. And again, like Bria said, that's just small facet of what we do in Love Your Menses.
So outside of the organization, let's talk about what you guys go through with the young girls, because, you know, it's very unfortunate, but we have adult women who are kind of ignorant to what's actually going on with their bodies. So I'd like to discuss that. What does it mean to menstruate? What happens during this time? Like the things that you go through with these 9-year-olds, go through it with us adults that just know that We got our period, don't know why it happens, how it happens. If I don't get it, it means I'm pregnant.
That's so funny. I'll let Abiri talk more about the physiological aspect, but it's so funny that you mentioned that, like, if I don't get it, then I'm pregnant. One thing I always tell people is if you miss a period or if it's late, your question shouldn't be, are you pregnant? Your question should be, am I stressed? What has my diet been looking like? Have I been moving? You know, am I physically active? What is my sleep schedule looking like? What is happening around me? Am I sick? You know, believe it or not, COVID has affected our menstrual cycles. Some people who have gotten COVID have had heavier blood flow and future periods. Some people have missed a period, and it relates to COVID. So it has nothing to do with them being pregnant. And so that's something, you know, we have to be mindful of, is knowing our bodies. And for a while I was like, okay, if my period is late, am I pregnant? But then I'm like, no, and I'm stressed, right? Or my diet has been off, or I haven't been physically active, or now I'm working from home, so I'm sitting more, and that has affected my menstrual cycle as well. And so, you know, we really encourage people to, you know, take a holistic approach and really think about their lifestyle, because your lifestyle affects your period. Abiri, do you want to add?
But yes, like Bria said, unfortunately, we've bought into that stereotype that if you miss your period, you should consider pregnancy. But like Bria clearly stated, there are other things that could be going on. Bria and myself co-authored a book where we can start. Maya learns about her menstruation. Bria, do you have it with you? So it's a baseline of anybody. It was written for children, but we've realized that adults also need that information. So we take Maya, a young African-American girl, go through her period as we have a dialogue between what is going on and what's not going on. So you know what, you asked us what is menstruation. Maybe we can read some parts of the book so that we can have an idea of what is going on through Maya's lens, if that's okay. Bria, do you have it with you?
Yeah, so here's
Yes.
the book. Maya learns about menstruation. So this is Maya on the back of the we really wanted to show that representation. So this photo was actually taken at the Thelma D. Burns building in Roxbury, and the illustrator turned it into an actual illustration. So that's supposed to be me right here, and then some of the youth who were sitting at the round tables during the discussion. And so in the book, Maya just speaks with the doctor and learns more about the menstrual cycle. And so, like, here's one page where Maya's asking, what is the menstrual cycle? And the doctor says, we're glad that you asked. Pretend this is like Dr. Azuma. And your menstrual cycle is a special cycle in your body that connects organs in your brain to the female reproductive organs. This cycle is very important and tells a lot about your health. And it's important to learn about this cycle and how it works. And so the menstrual cycle is a monthly cycle that begins in children during puberty, called menarche. So menarche is meaning your first period. And a lot of people think that puberty starts with your period, but puberty starts years before you get your first period. And this cycle prepares someone for fertility and conception. And the reason why we mention that is because we want to be honest with young people, right? The reason why you have a period is to produce children. That's how we keep, our, world moving, producing children. However, we do explain to them that, that's a conversation you can have when you're ready. And there's more to the menstrual cycle than actually getting pregnant.
So can we take a pause here? Because this is the first time I've ever heard this word. The first time you get your period is called what?
Menarche.
How do you spell that?
Menarche. Abiri, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Perfectly said, Bria. Perfectly. Menarche.
Yo, I never learned. I'm a little embarrassed that I've never known that word, and I've never known there was a word for the first time you have your period.
Yeah. Taylor and Bria, I would also add that in our conferences, we do have intergenerational conversation because we want to also teach the mothers this information. Like you just displayed. Most adults don't even know this, and that's okay. We want to change that paradigm. We want to change that narrative, and that's why we're teaching the kids, so that when they're mothers themselves, they will know that information, so that they can have good dialogue with their physicians or providers when they see them in the hospital, because I do think having that knowledge helps.
I'm sorry, Bria, for interrupting. We can still go on.
Oh, no worries. That's a great question. And so the next question Maya asks is, how long will my menstrual flow last? Because a lot of people, some people get their period for 4 days, some people get it for 7 days. And so here it says the first day of your menstrual cycle begins with blood flow, also known as your period, also known as menstruation. The menstrual period can last between 4 to 7 days. For some, it lasts longer, and for others, it's shorter. For many, however, it changes with age, especially towards the time of menopause. So if a young person is getting their period for the first time, those first couple years, they may notice that their period is irregular. Some months the blood flow may be heavier, other months it may be better, and that's fine. It's because the body is just adjusting, getting used to having a period. And vice versa, when people are starting to transition into menopause, they'll notice that their cycle changes as well. And that's because their body is preparing for a next stage in their life in which the hormones are fluctuating. Should I continue, or do you want me to stop there?
Well, I do have other questions. So I'm aware that your body does change throughout before you get your period. Like, as far as females are concerned, you start budding a little bit. What are these behind the scenes or inside the body, Dr. Azuma? What is actually going on scientifically?
All right, like Bria said, menarche is one step of puberty, right? So in puberty, like you said, there's the telechy, there's the puberty. So telechy is like the breast formation. So there are things that happen, like you said, whereby now our ovaries is working. It's now ovulating, which would be menstruation. But prior to that, there's a change in like our FSH, LH, those hormones that are secreted by our pituitary that influences our ovaries. So that, yes, like she said, puberty starts way younger than menarche. Menarche, like first onset of menstruation, typically at 10 years old, but puberty happens 2 years before that. So there are sequential things occurring that allows that to happen. Again, Bria and myself, again, not self-promoting, we do have a workshop called Understanding My Menstrual Flow, whereby we
are self-promoting. That's absolutely what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. But we really do we do have a workshop that we provide to schools and communities about menstruation. So we take them just beyond the period part, the blood flow, towards like telechy and whatnot. And we also include other things like safety, right? We're like, during this time period, don't let anyone touch you. So we include, and then we also include hygiene. What is a safe product to use? We really, Bria and myself, we just want to help our community, and we just want people to do better. We feel like our experiences, be it racism or whatever, we're turning it into a positive. We want to empower and encourage and make our younger girls smarter and better. That's it.
So with that being said, Dr. Azuma, I have read, and I would love to get your position on this as far as like tampons and pads. And so as myself and my daughter, so my daughter has never been introduced to like tampons or pads outside of our home, or like maybe the nurse introduced something to her. But in my home, we currently use Thinks, the period patties.
Yes.
So I transitioned myself prior to her. What's the word?
Menarche.
So prior to her menarche, I transitioned myself and then introduced her because I was reading about all of the things about pads and tampons and the chemicals that are being used and how it changes, can like cause different side effects or diseases, or change the way you smell, and like it just, that's what I read. But in your experience, what do you know of that?
Yes, I would love to talk about it, but Bria is the person that focuses more on like the organic products. So let us have her talk about the products we distribute, and then I'll wrap up with that information if that's okay. Bria.
Sure. So, we use 100% organic cotton menstrual products that are free of harsh chemicals. So a lot of these brands well, not a lot, but some of them contain harsh chemicals in the pads that they sell or the tampons that they sell, which affect our endocrine system. And so that controls our hormones. And so a lot of these chemicals act as endocrine disrupting chemicals. So it's like a foreign substance in our body, which it tricks our body and our brain to think that it's a hormone when it's in fact it's not natural. And so that's what causes a lot of issues. So sometimes people will be itchy down there, or be very irritated. Sometimes it'll affect their blood flow or how often they get their period. And more severely, a lot of these chemicals may lead to reproductive health issues such as fibroids, polycystic ovarian syndrome, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and so forth. And so, we're strong proponents for using safe products and really making sure the products that we give to the community, are safe for their body and safe for the environment. Those tend to be more expensive, but we're willing to pay the extra price knowing that it won't negatively affect someone's health. And usually when I want to look up like the ingredients of a product, I'll go to the EWG website. It stands for Environmental Working Group. And you can search any product that you have in your bathroom and get a whole ingredient list, and they'll actually put a grade to it. So they'll let you know, oh, this is this is a good product, it's free of harsh chemicals, or they'll label it like a C or D, meaning it has a lot of products that are concerning and you should consider using an alternative. So I highly recommend that website. Is ewg.org, I believe. There's still research being done to see the effects of, toxic chemicals in the menstrual cycle. There is research being done with a researcher, Dr. Natalie Shaw in North Carolina, where she's looking to see how environmental factors affect early puberty. Because what we're noticing is that a lot of girls and young people are reaching puberty earlier than our mothers and our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers did. I remember hearing someone tell me that they knew a girl who got her period at 5. And I was just like, 5 years old, like that is young. And a lot of this has to do with the foods that we're eating. There's a lot of chemicals in our foods, our environment, where we live, the products that we use, whether it's on our skin or on our hair. And so we really have to be mindful of these things. But I love how you and your daughter are using reusable products such as period underwear, because at least it contains no harsh chemicals and you can reuse it. And it's perfectly sanitary as long as you know how to clean it. And I can't see anyone else. I can't see you.
You can't see me? I'm there. Let's see.
I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Like Bria said, some chemicals have the endocrine disruptive chemicals, but there's some inorganic products that just attach to the vulva area, the vaginal area. So our vulva has a normal pH, and sometimes when we introduce that, we make it more acidic or basic, and that increases our risk for infections. So like we can have like what we call the BV and what Bria said. So we are committed, thank God, to like providing good products, because just because it's free doesn't mean it should not be the best.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go. I know like we stood on one page for a minute, but I do want to go through the book. And where is the book available? How can people purchase the books? I want to give a huge shout out to dads that are, leading these conversations with their daughters. I know that this is really difficult, so he has a tool to help you have these conversations. And so I know moms, it's not easy for us either, but because we experience it, it might be a little easier for us to discuss rather than a man trying to explain something he's never even seen before. So I'd like to go to the next page of the book, or like another part of the book. And for those that are currently watching and not listening on radio, www.ewg.org is the environmental working group website that you put in any product and it tells you exactly what you're dealing with.
Yes. So another part of the book is Maya asked, in my science class, my teacher talked about ovulation, but I am still confused. Can you tell me more about it? And so this is a lengthy response, but we thought it was important to explain exactly what ovulation is. Some people know when they're ovulating. So I myself, I know when I'm ovulating every month because I get middle smirch, which is called middle pain, and it's usually on one side. And sometimes it'll be on the right side, other times it'll be on the left side. And for so long, I couldn't figure out why I was getting this pain 2 weeks before my period. So I started actually writing it down on a calendar every time I would get the pain. And then I remember talking to my OBGYN and she said, oh, that's middle smirch. You know, it's just ovulation pain. And I was like, what? And so now I know when I'm ovulating and I know what I need to do to help reduce that pain. It can be concerning. So, you know, Barry and I, we're not celebrating pain. So if you are in pain, definitely seek help because that's not normal and you shouldn't just be in pain. But sometimes there can be a little discomfort. And if you do experience that 2 weeks before your period, it's probably due to ovulation. So ovulation is also a natural process and a part
I do want to stay here really quickly. So we tend to think, like globally, we tend to think that the pain only comes when you're actually on your period and not really the 2 weeks before when you're actually ovulating. We are not celebrating pain, but I'm completely open to alternatives. And so I know my daughter has never mentioned concerns of like pain prior to her period, but whenever she is on her cycle, she is in grave pain. And one of the things that we've found to help minimalistically is turmeric. And so like turmeric or like mustard has been able to help. And I guess that's because there's turmeric in mustard. But if you have any other holistic, please give us those, because we do not take medications in our house. But when it's that time of the month, unfortunately, she does take a lot of like the Tylenols and the ibuprofens. And so I am open to any and every suggestion for the pain.
Okay. Bria can also touch on it, but because, you know, she would tell you she struggles with significant pain, unfortunately. Motrin is fine. There are other things. I think turmeric would work because it's an anti-inflammatory. It has anti-inflammatory actions. Again, being holistic or trying raspberry tea is fine. You know, using the heating pad is fine as well. Anything that would help, that is safe, it's okay. But like you said, some people would need some Motrin because of the prostaglandin effect. So yes, so whatever works that is safe is fine. I mean, she's lucky that turmeric works. Like for me, I take turmeric daily as a supplement. So that's good news. For some people, they need more, unfortunately. But since turmeric works for her, I'm happy. I'm happy for her. Go ahead, Bria.
So we do have a call on the line. I just want to take this call really quickly. Good.
They need more.
Caller. Hello. So give us a call back, 617-272-3387. Or you could just call my cell, 617-459-0041. Whatever is best for you, easiest for you, just give us a call. You could also type your questions in the chat. Send a text message to 617-459-0041 for any questions that you have. But I'm sorry, Bria, let's go back. Let's continue.
Yeah, no, it's so funny that you mentioned that your daughter uses turmeric. And You're right on. And so, Taylor, I know you're really into like chakras and things like that. And if you look, your solar plexus is yellow, and then the next chakra is orange. And so usually people say during your period and right before, like that week, to consume foods that are yellow and orange, fruits and vegetables. Think of citrus, carrots, turmeric. And so that's what I tend to do, get a lot of sunlight. And so that tends to also help your menstrual cycle. And so for me, I do experience a lot of pain, and I use heating pads. I try acupuncture, and that also has worked for me. So once a week, I see my acupuncturist, and we timed it perfectly. So I always get my acupuncture treatments a day or two before my actual period. And she also does a technique where she rubs Tiger Balm in my abdomen area, and that also helps a lot. So if you can't do acupuncture, if you can't get a massage or anything like that, always keep a bottle of Tiger Balm in your bathroom. It works miracles. I mean, it smells strong and it can be messy, but Tiger Balm is my go-to. And since I started using acupuncture and Tiger Balm and heating pad and drinking herbal tea, I don't really have to take a lot of painkillers. Maybe I'll take one just once a day, but that's pretty much it. Whereas when I was younger, I was popping 800 milligrams every 6 hours, and I would throw up because I also wouldn't have an appetite. And so a lot of people say, well, take pain medication, but I can't even take it because I don't have an appetite. And so therefore my stomach is empty and I'm popping pills and end up throwing up the pills because I'm just in so much pain and I haven't eaten anything. And so I know some other people also experience that, just not having an appetite when they're in pain.
Yes. Excellent one, Priya.
For that. And so I had no idea what Tiger Balm is or was, and so I just went to the website really quickly. And so it's up tigerbalm.com. I have not, but I'm willing to purchase it if it will be helpful for her. And Bria, you said it's helpful for you, so we'll try it.
It is. It's anti-inflammatory. You can get it at CVS, Walgreens, any pharmacy. It comes in a small jar, and you just rub a little, and it has a cooling effect. So you immediately feel the release. People say don't use like a heating pad if you're using Tiger Balm. So just rub the Tiger Balm on, massage it, and you'll immediately feel the results. I love it. It does smell, but it's kind of like Vicks.
I was about to say it sounds like an icy hot type situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, what else is in the book? Oh, hold on, we were talking about
ovulation.
Yes. And so in the book, it mentions that, where is it? So in ovulation, the reason why you ovulate is because the brain releases a hormone that causes the ovaries to produce and release eggs or ova. And for some in ovulation, they have increased amounts of clear, non-foul, slippery vaginal discharge. And we talk a lot about discharge. We're not afraid to talk about the vagina. It's important that you see your vagina, you know how it looks like, when something doesn't feel right or look right. And so we talk about discharge, and we talk about the different colors and textures of discharge. So usually during ovulation, you'll see more clear discharge. So if you've ever used the bathroom and then you wipe and it's like clear and it's sticky, that's normal. It's just you're ovulating. And some people may have mild abdominal cramps. And not everyone ovulates, but that will also, and we also say that's another topic for another time. And Abera can talk more about why some people don't ovulate. And we also mentioned that for some, during the first 1 to 2 weeks of their menstrual cycle, they seem to have more energy than usual. And that's super important. So that's also a great time to work out. So if you like going to the gym, definitely the first 1 to 2 weeks of your menstrual cycle. So usually right after your period, that's when you have the most energy. That's when your skin is the most clear. that's a great time to exercise, do a lot of strength training. And then as you start reaching your period, so those last few weeks leading up to your period, that's
your face start breaking out. You just want to stay in the bed and wear sweatpants all day. You don't want to do your hair. So I want to rewind because we do not talk about discharge enough in society, and we do not discuss the like the different types of discharge and why. And so I know recently there was a video that came out of a gentleman who found his girlfriend's panties and he blasted her on social media because it had like bleach spots on it, or what looked like bleach spots. But every woman who saw the video made a comment like, those are a pair of older panties, and those are probably like her like workout day panties or like her ugly day panties. Like, everybody has those. So I would love to answer the question, like, how is it that we as women can bleach our panties without putting any bleach on them? You're muted, my love. Dr. Zuma.
Yes, yes. That's really a very interesting question. Like Bria has alluded to, like with our menstruation, there's change in the hormones. So during ovulation, there's just increase in secretions. And so those secretions can come out as vaginal discharge. Yes, maybe the pH can affect the material. I don't know, but it's just something that we always notice, and it happens to us. Like Bria said, there are different types of vaginal discharge. There are some that are pathologic, they are bad. For example, bacterial vaginosis, yeast candidiasis, all of those can be bad, but there's some physiological vaginal discharge, again, due to ovulation, as Bria said.
And so I do want to stay here for a little while because, transparency.
Yes.
Before understanding my body, BV was a part of my everyday life. Like, my doctor went ahead and prescribed me, like, I still to this day have metronidazole,
flagyl. Yes,
I still have that. I still have the pills. I still have the gel. I've tried the Dashgun yogurt with a tamp. Like, I did everything that everybody has ever suggested. And it was, I had to understand that it was based on what I was eating. Certain type of panties I cannot wear. Certain type of jeans I can't keep on for too long. Foods that I eat, things that I drink, vitamins that I take, like, my body reacts to everything and anything. And so when you don't understand your body, there was a time like I couldn't even take a bubble bath and didn't even know, like, all I did was take a bath. You would think that that's the least of, the last thing that would give you problems. So what? I guess the question is, like, why are so many women, and like, I was so embarrassed. I was just like, is this an STD? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, so many women go through it, but it's a conversation that we don't want to have.
Yes. Like you suggested, most women do have vaginal discharge, and they also have pathological vaginal discharge. Remember when Bria talked about, like, the endocrine disrupting chemicals or the hash chemicals, and we talked about the change in the pH. So that's basically it. So when there's a change in the pH, our normal bacteria will not survive, right? So we have normal bacteria in our body and in our vulva area that prevents us from having infection. But with hash chemicals, the pH changes, so we have less lactobacillus. And after there's less lactobacillus, the quote unquote bad bacteria grows. So BV tends to be one. So we have the Gardnerella would grow as well. So one, like you said, eating healthier helps. Using probiotics also help. So there are other things you can as well do to help maintain your pH, your vaginal pH. Thank you.
And so my face, so that, like, stringy, that is my, how do I keep that, like, all 29, 32 days? Like, how do I keep that? Because that one's my favorite.
Which one? Which one are we talking about?
The one that Bria was talking about, like when you're ovulating and like it's clear and stringy, like that is the best one.
Yes, that's the best one. That's the most natural one as well. I mean, there are people that do natural family planning, and that's one of their ways. If they're trying, or those people that use natural family planning, or those people that are trying to get pregnant, we tell them to observe their temperature, their vaginal discharge, because those are cues that, oh yeah, you're ovulating or you're about to ovulate. So now it's the time to have intercourse so that you can have a successful conception. So yes, those are good ones, but the bad ones are the ones that have smell. The bad ones are the ones that make you itch. You would know, like BV, like makes us smell like fish. Like you have a foul fishy odor. The BV.
Yeah. And story time. So I just got my wisdom teeth removed, right? And they prescribed me antibiotics. And I was talking to a berry because I was like, I'm so itchy. And she's like, oh, it's the antibiotics. It gets rid of the bad and the good bacteria. And my boyfriend was like, are you okay? Like, is something wrong with you? Are you fucking out on me? I'm like, no, it's antibiotics. This is a conversation we don't have where they think, there's something wrong with us when really it's the antibiotics, which is causing the pH to be off. So we need to talk about this more. And the men need to know too. Like, don't be like accusing us of anything. It's literally antibiotics.
Yes.
What are other things that can throw off your pH? What are other things, like women who do not know themselves and do not know their body? What are other things that they should be mindful of in kind of like process of elimination to figure out what is it that's causing, if it's not bacterial vaginosis, is a yeast infection, maybe it's not that extreme. Maybe it's just a change in discharge.
Correct. Yes. Like Bria said, one, you should know your body. Like Bria knows her body very well. She takes notes. So when thank you for letting us share your story. When she had the vaginal discharge, she thought like, what is going on? I know my body. But then she remembered, she thought about her medication. What is she doing differently? She said, oh my, yes, my medication is an antibiotics for my tooth procedure. And she was able to connect the two. And that's what we always do. So one, know your body. That's why we believe in menstrual wellness. Know your body so that if there's a change, For example, if you go swimming, and there's chemicals in the pool and it enters your vagina, most likely you might have a discharge. Maybe you go wash up. Don't douche, right? We don't recommend douching, and don't use scented chemicals there. Our normal vaginal pH is normally like 3.8, I think, to 4.2. It's more acidic, and those things could be basic and just throw us off. Like, I think we women are so special that little things do throw us off sometimes down there, and also metaphorically.
Mm-hmm. So what are, you said don't douche, but yet like women live by it. I after learning a lot, I have not in like a decade, but why not? What's wrong with a douche? They've been doing it forever.
Okay, so the question we should ask is, why do women douche? Why aren't we comfortable with our natural smell? Like, okay, you know what I mean? So we need to take it a little bit, like really, why? Like, we all have our own endorphins. We all have our own smell. So why are we not fine with it? Because trying to change it causes you to have recurrent infections, which are not good. So why not just accept your smell so far it's not pathologic, and not douche, and have your partner know like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sacrifice my health to make you. I mean, I'm sure most guys would say they don't even notice it, but we put so much pressure on ourselves as women. And that's where Love Your Menses comes in. We're like, it's not just the menstruation, but our mindset and how we need to advocate for ourselves and say it's okay. We come in different shapes. Our book, Understanding My Flow, that we're releasing soon, talks about the different types of vulva. Like, a lot of people are now doing surgery on their vulva because they don't like their vagina. I mean, we've seen botched up surgeries from that. 16-year-olds getting fat transplant into their vulva. Like, why? So, it shows that we have some underlying problems that we need to rectify as a people and as women. Sorry to be tangential.
No, exact. So I would love to like take this into a Freaky Friday conversation because this is real life. And it's actually a show that we do on here. And so we actually did a Freaky Friday show, and I forgot what country it was, but it was a country in Africa where the women elongated their lips on purpose and for sexual pleasure, and men loved it as well. But here in the United States, if it don't look pretty in like year 5, it's like, ew, it looked like meat, like it looked like roast beef. I don't want that. But in other countries, it's like, what is, I don't want that. That look like a little kid. And so I am glad that we're having this conversation. I have a question that, okay, so I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it. I have a friend who she's clean. She's, beautiful. Whenever we would go out to the club, like I could find her because I could smell her. Like she had a very strong scent. And it's been years since I've seen her, but I imagine like I could still remember how she smells today. How or why, like women with stronger scents. Can you break that down and how, like, I don't want to be like, well, maybe you should try. I don't want to say that, but I do want to like, how can someone with a very strong personal scent down there
manage it? Excellent. Good question. So the first thing is to rule out pathology, rule out any etiology for the vaginal discharge. We talked about non-STD ones like BV. We also talked about yeast infection. So those are non quote unquote STI ones, but we do have like trichomonas, we do have chlamydia. So we just have to make sure she excludes that. And if it's negative, what we can tell her is her diet, right? There's some foods that tend to smell more, right? Like garlic will have a stronger smell for some people. So we can go through the diet and see, and then we can introduce some other diet that has better smell. Like Bria said, like the citrusy. So, and then we, you know what I mean? We just have to make sure that she doesn't even have any other diseases that can manifest itself with strong odors. So there are a lot of things that could be. And then lastly, after we've excluded all pathology and changed her diet, and if it's not successful, then we say, sorry, God made you special that way.
Okay. Okay. And you know what? I'm starting to think like onions were a really like onions and garlic was like a real staple in her diet, and so I didn't even think about that part of it. That's
like fish. Like there's some fish that has that smell as well. Like some native fish, if she's from has a different heritage. Like in Nigeria, we eat like some fish that has very, very, very strong smell. So in Nigeria, there's more space, so you can cook in an open space. So those that place can be aerated. There's good fresh air. But in most American homes, the kitchen is like next to the living room. So like there's no room for those smell to evaporate. So it can be on your clothes. People will think, oh yeah, you have a bad smell, but it's just what you cook at home. Used to cook at home.
And I'm thinking of the Haitian fish. Oh my gosh, what is the name of that damn Haitian fish that smells so bad but tastes so good? Oh my gosh, I hate it, but I love it. And so for those that are just now tuning in, we're speaking with Bria Gaston and Dr. Azuma of Love Your Menses. And this is a conversation that is uncomfortable for many. Nobody wants to talk about period. It's yuck. It's nasty. Like we have stigmatized it here in the United States where, even in parts of the Bible, it's like, tell that unclean woman she can't come to church. It's just
yes.
So how do we today, there's so many questions, like weird questions that have been associated with periods that I want to talk about that may not even have nothing to do with nothing. Like, for instance, the fact that some people believe using your menstrual blood is powerful. Like it that is a powerful time for a woman. Of course, in like certain religions, women on their cycle shouldn't be cooking food. It's weird how menstrual blood has like inserted itself in every aspect of our life. Where did these come from? Were they just men who didn't understand? It was just like, hey, something's wrong with her. What is this like? Where I know it's not like love your menses regular talk that you guys talk about, but if you know anything, please school us.
I don't know if Bria wants to take a stab at it.
That's so interesting. I think a lot of it definitely stems from, religion, and people's different interpretations of the Bible or the Quran, whatever it is that they use, right? And so for some cultures, women have to sleep in a different hut. They can't even sleep in the same sleeping quarters as their husbands when they're on their periods. For others, they can't enter a mosque or into the the worship area where they pray if they're on their period. And so I really think it has a lot to do with different cultures and what they believe in. It's really fascinating, how people believe in different things. Sometimes when I'm hearing it, I'm like, where'd you come up with this? But at the same time, we respect people's cultures and their beliefs because, you're in this, you're free to believe in whatever it is that you want to believe in, as long as it doesn't harm an individual. And so what I've noticed is that a lot of these beliefs, men definitely have started it or, enforced it. And it causes girls to feel a lot of shame. And that causes suicide. Like in other countries, girls are committing suicide because there's so much shame associated with their period. And so Abiri and I, we really tried to combat that. And, we can't change a culture and what they do, but we can provide that support system for girls so they know that you do have people who support you, where you can talk about your body. We're not going to shame you regardless of what, your community thinks. But it's really hard. There's just so many different myths and practices associated with menstruation that I can't keep up. Barry, I don't know about you.
Wow. Yes, Bria, excellent point. Again, it's culture, and sometimes culture is shaped by misunderstanding. I mean, we love culture, we embrace our culture, but yes, there's some cultures that have done more harm to women. For example, there are women that have irregular menses, that cannot get married because they're always bleeding, because in their culture, you cannot have sexual intercourse while you're bleeding. So as a gynecologist and as community educators, Bria and myself, we witnessed this. So that's where we come in. That's where we want to say, no. Let's give you physiology. Let's explain how special your body is. If there's always mythology surrounded it, it's your choice, but we want to give you that information. We want to destigmatize menstruation. And I don't know if you are aware of that. We are in 4 countries right now where we provide education for menstruation, because yes, the work is important here in the United States, but we realize that the work breaking down stereotypes and misunderstanding is also great internationally.
Mm-hmm. And so I have a personal question that nobody else probably cares about, but I want to know, so I am a new moon, full moon cycler. Like, how I be feeling special because me and the moon are on one accord. But what is it? As far as women are concerned, are most women ovulating with moon cycles, or is it just or am I just on one accord with the universe?
Wow. I mean, physiologically, we haven't had the connection, but that doesn't mean it does not exist. As a physician and as a community person, I do understand there's limitation in our scientific world at this point. So I embrace, or I understand where you're coming from, but I can say in my knowledge, in our physiology, we haven't timed it with the moon or full moon. But you know what? If it empowers you and makes you happy, you go, girl. I'm all in support of it. And one thing I have to say, being a part of Love Your Menses as a co-founder has really opened my eyes to different things. It's like continuing residency as a gynecologist, because through Bria, through Bria, I've learned different ways of managing things, and my conversation is actually richer. So in giving back to the community, me, myself, I'm growing as a physician. But I hand it over to Bria.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And before my personal conversation, my personal question, I was going to transition to the fact that, Bria, you are international and making international strides with young women, and you are changing culture. You said, like, I know we can't change culture, but at least we could be that you are changing culture and seeing. So, you know, I follow you. I'm like a secret stalker. Like the young girls, like being excited about the shame that they previously had, and like growing into and becoming your full self. And so I just want to give you your flowers while you are here and say thank you so much for changing the culture. And just would love to take a moment and just say thank you to Miss Irvine, because if I know Miss Irvine, like I know Miss Irvine, you had an idea and she was like, yo, this ain't an idea, Bria, take it all the way. This is what you can do. This is how you can do it. You know, I'm here, however I can help you. So I'm really thankful and grateful that she was a staple in your life and was able to help you come into this where you are now. And I can see so much more in your future. And I love you so much. We are coming to the top of the hour. And so please tell us, like, how do we get this book? How can we help? How can we support? How can we donate? Because you did make mention to making sure that you give access to chemical-free, organic cotton pads and tampons. And so I know those are not inexpensive. So how can we help? How can we support? And where can we get this book?
Thank you so much, Taylor. You're just amazing. And I always tell my boyfriend, when we're ready to buy a house, we're coming to Taylor. We're going to buy a house first. Iberia, Taylor is a license in Georgia too. So
nice. We're coming to you. We'll support you and thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you.
Yes. So you can purchase our book. If you go to my website, briagadsden.com, if you click shop, you'll see the Maya Learns About Menstruation. So you could purchase that. You could always donate on our website, loveyourmenses.com. We do have an event coming up this Saturday in collaboration with Black Boston. We're hosting a period pop-up at Harambee Park in Dorchester, where we're giving out free period care packages and postpartum care packages. So if you are pregnant or if you've recently given birth, and if you need some products to support your body as you heal from childbirth, definitely come out. We'll be at Harambee Park from 1 to 3 this Saturday, and that's right near Talbot Ave and Blue Hill Avenue. So definitely join us. The weather will be nice. We also are launching our period mobile app on May 28th. Our Flow Tech for Girls, Youth, they designed this period mobile app. And so everything we discussed today will be on the mobile app. So anyone can use it, but it's really designed for young people to learn about their bodies, and specifically girls of color, because there's not a lot of representation around the Black menstrual experience. And Iberia and I wants to make sure that Black and brown girls see themselves represented in medicine, public health. And so stay tuned for our app. And Taylor, you'll be there.
Yes.
Yes, I got an invite. So I thank you so much for all of the work that both of you are doing, and I appreciate you. So we didn't even talk about a postpartum, which is like a whole nother side of it as well. And I just had a baby 2 years ago, so I am reminded of what postpartum looks and feels like. And so we didn't even talk about that aspect. I would love, Bria, you know, I openly stalk you now. And so whenever you guys are available to come back, please do. And can I please say that going to the website and seeing can I tell you the diversity on your board? Most people go.org and get their 501(c), and everyone on the board does not look like them. And to see your board and to see the representation on your board, I am honored, proud. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we need. And so please do not forget, it's BRIAGADSDEN for the .com. So you can go ahead and go get the book. the Love Your Menses, menses.com for everything Love Your Menses, but specifically for the book is Bria Gaston's website. And so I just want to be clear, don't go to Love Your Menses looking for the book because it's on Bria's website. Trust me, I already looked. So I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Is there anything else that we want to share? Oh, the event. Let's shameless plug all the time.
Yes. So period pop up this Saturday at Harambe Park in Dorchester, 1 to 3 p.m. It's going to be 70 degrees and sunny. So come out. Black Boston and Love Your Menses will be distributing period care packages. So free pads, free tampons, free postpartum packages for new moms and for people who need them. We have a lot to give out. So please come. Please come. And if you don't bleed, get some for your mama, your sister, your auntie, whoever. We want to make sure everyone who needs products have them for free. And then May 28th is our mobile app launch party. We'll announce it on our Instagram and our Facebook. So please follow us on social media at Love Your Menses to stay tuned for the mobile app.
Thank you. I am Taylor Andre. Waking Up with Taylor Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Everything Taylor Andre, TaylaAndre.com.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.